We have all seen the images of baby Siwa Ashur. Do you know how much a baby who is 5 months old should weigh?
Victoria, what you are doing now is part of the propaganda of BBC.
No, that's not true.
If you are the kind of person who spreads the idea that the mainstream media can't be trusted, that it works in tandem with government, that it soft launches or manipulates the population in order to get them to accept and be ready for any given action by the government, that works both ways. People on the right wing, people on the opposite side of the political spectrum from you, people who are pro-Israel, whatever it is, are going to use that claim, that argument, and use it for their own benefit. The immediate response from the comments was, she's changed her tune. How would you know? You're not watching her. And if anything, she would have changed her tone because the government has chosen to change its tone. So as you talk about the subject, you're going to talk about what the government says, and it's going to come out in a particular way. Has the mainstream media been perfect? Absolutely not. When it comes to the Israel-Palestine thing, for example, the New York Times has in its style guidelines that it cannot use the word genocide, which is utterly unacceptable. But we do not need an entire overhaul of the whole system. It's just a case of getting these institutions to recognize that the way they're talking about given things is unhealthy. But can you think of an alternative that would still keep us informed, that would still have nuance, that would still make sure that all sides of the political conversation get heard and are heard with the decent and proper level of nuance and understanding? Because I'll tell you one thing, social media influencers are not going to do that for you. They're going to tell you what you want to hear, whatever gets the most clicks and attention, even if it's not true, and they aren't journalists. They're taking the bits that the real journalists say, removing all the stuff that isn't interesting, that doesn't speak to their audience, and then just regurgitating it back to you. I did not know that Hamas had hostages for at least a week after the October the 7th attacks, because the only information I was getting about it was from TikTok. It was only when I started listening to podcasts like Newscast by the BBC or the news agents, for example, where I actually started to realize, there are other bits of this conversation than everything I'm hearing. So when you criticize the mainstream media, please just be careful to recognize that often what you actually want them to do, if they actually did it, would make us less informed. It wouldn't give us all the facts, it wouldn't recognize the full spectrum of opinion on any given political subject, and it would likely be more manipulative and more emotionally controlling than you currently think that it is. Because it would only exist to agree with your opinion, and would tell everybody else that they need to think exactly the way that you do. And that is the real definition of propaganda.